Okay, this is a 2013 Synapse 8 2300 aluminum, which is a Cannondale, and this is my sort of review of it. Start off by telling you the things I like about it, and then stuff I don't like so much about it. Start off, it's basically the cheapest bike Cannondale makes. It's a road bike, and they didn't really, this model, like this particular bike, wasn't really fitted with any of the extras. Like there's no kickstand on it, which I mean, you'd probably want one of those, and there's no like no clip-on pedals or water bottle holders or like digital clock speedometer thing. Also, one good thing about it is the price. I mean, that's usually a factor with anybody buying almost anything, and it's pretty cheap for a beginner road bike. I mean, if you bought a brand new one like 2014, it cost you about $900. If you get the last year's model and used, you can get a couple $100 off, and it's basically a new bike. I mean, there's no scratches. I mean, there's like a scuff here and there, but it's like, it seems barely even rid. One thing that seems to concern a lot of people when they're buying a road bike is the weight, especially people who are buying their first road bike. And it's aluminum, so it's a little heavier than a carbon. But I mean, when you're riding a bike, most of the weight of the bike is you. So if you're thinking about being faster and lighter, lose some weight. Sounds a little harsh, but I mean, something to think about. What I like about it is the looks. I mean, I think it looks pretty good. I think the seat looks really awesome too on that. You don't usually, I mean, you're gonna be sitting on it, so you're not gonna see it anyways, but something. For most like road bikes, like beginner ones, cheap ones, usually lacking in the style department. Not this one though. The seat's actually pretty comfortable for a road bike seat too, probably because it's not 100% focused on being light. Synapse. The ride is better on it because it's not completely focused it's not as stiff. It has the Save Plus system on it, which you can see on like the rear forks. It's hard to see, but they're bent a little bit. Not because I bent them, just because they're bent on purpose. And that acts as sort of like a shock absorber, and it saves a little bit of the ride. The front forks are actually made of carbon, which is Save Carbon, which I mean, for a pretty reasonably priced bike, you need a little bit of carbon. One thing that I wish the bike did have is I wish it did have the 2014 Synapse 7 rear cassette on it, because this one, the smallest gear on the cassette on this bike is a 12. It has 12 notches on it, and the smaller the less amount of notches it has, is the faster the bike will allow you to go. And the new one has 11, and this one has 12. But even if you do buy the 5, the 6, or the 7 of the 2013 ones, they're all going to have the lowest gear as a 12, so you might want to switch that out if you can. Just even if you're looking at like the 5, the 6, or the 7, and you see that they have more gears, it doesn't mean this one can't be as fast as those bikes, because the gear ratio on this one will be the same for the highest gear ratio. And for the front crank is a 50, which is on the biggest gear on the crank is a 50, which is, I think all Cannondales have 50s on them, so that's not anything to worry about. You can actually, if you want, make this bike into a 1x8, which means you take off the two smaller cranks, because for racing you're not really going to need them. It's more for mountain biking. Now, one thing that does sort of bother me with this bike is the way it shifts into a higher gear. Because when your hand's down here on the lower handlebar, you try to shift up, your thumb doesn't really reach it. I mean, if you're trying to shift down, I mean, that's fine. But the upshifter, you kind of got to bring your hand up to here before you can shift up. I mean, on the other side it's not a big deal because I never really use that one. But that's just something to... I wish I could change it. I don't know, I might be able to. I'll look that up. To wrap it up, it's a great bike. Looks great. And personally I think that's pretty important. It's pretty fast for great value for money. So, I mean, please subscribe to Dusty15. Thank you for watching.